I got to figure that out. Welcome to a new round of SDH AM. John here, you there. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday. We got stuff going on. We got plenty of things to get into. And it is a combination of the following. That's a little dark. I think, first it was too far lighted, and now it's a little too dark. How about there? We're checking the light in the room. John here, you there. Thanks for coming by, as you always do here on SDH AM. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday, so anything's on the table that is on your collective minds. We've got training camp stuff to get into with Major League Soccer. We're going to stop by and catch up at NYCFC and with Nashville. We're going to hear from new sporting director Todd Donovan at NYCFC and his challenges, just a couple of his challenges. And then we're going to catch up with BJ Callahan as Nashville had their first go-round of action in the preseason. It was a loss, but BJ Callahan looked at it as the first match in preseason. So we'll find out what's on the minds of NYCFC and Nashville as we go. Obviously, we've got to get into what happened in the Champions League yesterday, and you had a big stunner on the board. We're going to hear from Pep Guardiola, and he's going to let you know what he thinks is going on with Manchester City right now. It was a bit of a rotated side. It was a homecoming of sorts for Erling Haaland. Bodo Glimt basically sat there and took their finger in the air, and they just kind of went, no, not happening. Yeah, the only thing missing is Dikembe Mutombo. No. It was a stunning game at points, and it ended up with a big win for Manchester City. We'll hear from Pep Guardiola. In addition, Thomas Frank gets a bit of a reprieve, and it was a win for Spurs yesterday. We'll hear from him as he is trying to turn the rather large supertanker around for Spurs. We'll get into the other results from yesterday. We'll get into the matchups for today, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it from our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. We'll get into all of that. We don't have the 10:30 match like we had yesterday morning with Kairat Almaty. We don't have that. We got 12:45s and 3s. We don't have the 10:30 like we had yesterday morning. Also on the board, it is the transfer news and notes and who might be going where and who is going where. And one of those names is Pity Martinez. So we've got an update on Pity Martinez this morning. And we also have some local news that we'll get into here from SDH HQ here in Office HD. Decatur Watchfest has a new announcement out as they continue to let everybody know that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with Decatur Watchfest when the world shows up here in the spring and summer. So there's another announcement that came out this morning with that. That'll be opening kickoff coming up in a bit. Also in hour number 1, it's an 18-hour time difference from Office HD to Auckland, New Zealand. We found this out the hard way in trying to figure out how we can set up an interview with William Cardona. Carlos Carmona, William Cardona. That's going to be in my head, and that's going to stick. So Willie Cardona, now William Cardona, is a player that you might know from Fort Mill, South Carolina. You might know him from his time at Winthrop. You might know him from his time at Virginia Tech. Now you know him at his time in Vanuatu United in the OFC Pro League. Both the matches, by the way, were washed out yesterday, so we don't have any highlights for you. They are rescheduling games, but once again, it is the rainy season, and it is a challenge for grounds crews and players and the like. And so former Virginia Tech midfielder Willie Cardona is in his first pro gig. You heard his highlight. We'll play it again for you for those that might have missed it. Match one for Bula and Vanuatu United. William Cardona gets your 90+4 equalizer. So the first match ever in league history was a 2-2 draw. Cardona was responsible for that. And we catch up with him in Auckland after practice that they had indoors because it was raining buckets. And so we catch up with William Cardona from Virginia Tech and now with Vanuatu United, his first ever pro job. And we go into the backstory about how this happened. So it was really cool to catch up with Cardona, and we'll have that here in hour number 1. So it is opening kickoff. It is Cardona. It is news and notes and transfers. It is Major League Soccer camp, and it's getting you ready for the day in and across the board. And anything else that's on your mind this morning, we got all the transfers. We got all the things. And so good morning, David. Good morning, Ricky. And good morning to all of you who are hanging out with us here this morning. Okay, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories in the game and the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community. Showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. For those of you that sample it, you're going to have to tell me, because I'm not really a coffee person. So you're going to have to tell me what you dig, and if it was a good thing when it comes to coffee. So give me a scouting report when it comes to Black Pitch Coffee and let me know what's going on. Okay, this came out this morning before we came on the air, and it's if you are locked into Decatur Watch Fest and you're seeing what's going on, that they are really putting on a fantastic show, a fantastic run and schedule. It was announced this morning that as a part of their concert series, the War and Treaty are going to be performing June 25th in advance of the United States match. And so once again, you've got Decatur Watch Fest with Big Boy on June 11. You now have the War and Treaty on June 25. You've got the Indigo Girls on July 19. It's Michael Trotter Jr. and Tanya Trotter, one of the, as it is said, nominated for Best New Artist, Best American Roots Song at the 24 Grammys. Also nominated for Duo of the Year at CMA Awards 2 years in a row, Vocal Duo of the Year at the ACMs. They've won 2 Americana Music Awards, both for Duo and Group of the Year. Received additional nominations and recognition from CMT, Folk Alliance International, People's Choice Country Awards, Country Music Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the Grand Ole Opry. And so you can go to the Decatur Watch Fest 26 website and get their social media, follow them, like, friend, and be a part of their conversations there. And so this is the third name that they have announced as a part of their concert series. It's going to be a part of everything. And so it is, our friend Andrea Arnold, Decatur City Manager. There's a quote from her. And so as a part of all of this, Decatur Watch Fest, 34 days, free music, activities, food, and beverages around Decatur Square. And for those of you that might be kind of hovering around Decatur Square, they're doing a lot of renovations. They're doing some their logo IDs on the pavement. If we're trying to figure out where to be, Decatur Watch Fest, big logo is kind of hanging out near Decatur MARTA station to kind of let you go toward Decatur Square and check out all of the activities there in a renovated square. So Decatur continues to be a soccer town. You're going to have every day is going to be celebrated with Watch Fest. All the matches are going to be shown in Watch Fest pubs and restaurants. You're going to have the pre and post match concerts featuring named and local acts. So act number 3 has been announced for Decatur Watch Fest, and that is the War and Treaty. And so Big Boy on June 11, War and Treaty on June 25, Indigo Girls on July 19. So I guess technically I could have done this. So you end up with War and Treaty as the official breaking news this morning. War and Treaty, Decatur Watch Fest, that's going to be your third thing. Morning, Alex. Here's to hoping that the recovery is going the way that you wish the recovery to go. So hopefully it's an easy day for you as rehabilitation continues for you, sir. All right, so let's get into what happened yesterday and get you into all of the news, notes, and transfers and all the things and all of this. So yesterday in Champions League, you had your number one stunner on the board, and it was not Club Brugge putting 4 on Kairat Almaty as they got eliminated from the group stage or the league phase. So Club Brugge wins it 4-1. They were the 10:30 match that we were kind of starting to watch as we were going off the air yesterday morning. So you end up with Brugge getting a win at a -227. Then you had the one match at 12:45, and it was Bodo Glimt and Manchester City. And the starting lineup for Pep Guardiola yesterday, obviously it was a homecoming for Erling Haaland of sorts to play north of the Arctic Circle. And it was, how do we phrase this? It was a long afternoon for Manchester City. You end up with 2 goals in 3 minutes from Kasper Varst Hogue to make it 2-0, and it was 2-0 at the break. Jens Hauge scored in the 58th to make it 3-0. Ryan Cherky then scored a minute and a half later to make it 3-1, and you're thinking, okay, here comes Manchester City. And then this is where you pick up your Ticonderoga number 2 pencil, and you sit there and you go, not so fast, my friend. Rodri gets his second yellow, which creates a red, which means it's 10-man Manchester City for the final 30 minutes, basically. And it was a rough day for Manchester City. Just to give you an idea, starting lineup, Donnarumma in net. You had a back four of Nico O'Reilly, Max Alain, Abdulkir Husanov, and Ryan Aït-Nouri. Your three midfielders, Tiani Reinders, Rodri, and it was Rico Lewis, and then obviously up top, Foden, Holland, and Ryan Cherki. So the back line, obviously, people are sitting there and they're wondering about what's going on with Manchester City, and that was what folks were pointing to in this particular matchup. If you're going to get to Manchester City, it's going to be on the back line and through the back line, and it certainly was. And so you end up with a 3-1 win for Bodo Glimt. They're still technically, mathematically alive to get into the play-in round out of the league phase. They wouldn't get the automatic bye, but they got to get some work done. Manchester City next week, they've got to take on Galatasaray, and if they win that one, then once again they should be in the top 8. So right now, Manchester City 4-1-2 and 13 points. Bodo Glimt with their first wins at 6. So possession, obviously Manchester City had it, 2-1 basically. Shots on goal, 5 each. Shot attempts, 16, 8 to Manchester City. 15 fouls, only 15 fouls called, but 9 of them to Manchester City. You had the 1 yellow to Rodri. You had the 1 red to Rodri. 9 corners to 2. 4 saves for Bodo Glimt and only 2 saves for Donnarumma. So you have that as their first ever matchup, and it goes all the way to Bodo Glimt. And it was a rocking crowd north of the Arctic Circle. When was the last time you heard something like that? It's a rocking crowd north of the Arctic Circle. And so you end up with a 3-1 win for Manchester City. Here's Pep after the match, and he wasn't too happy.
Everything is the feeling that is going wrong, is going, against in many, many details, and that is a fact, and you have to try to change it, but the players are there, and we tried. They are a little bit fragile as they were last season in certain period, but how they fought and 10 against 11, and a lot of players make a step up, and had to change the dynamic quick. Next game against Wolves, and after the last game against Galatasaray, and waiting that players can come back step by step.
That's from our friends at Sky Sports News. Quote, everything has started to be since the new year against in many, many things. I know how good a team Bodo are. I didn't underestimate them. There's not much I know, but they reached the semis last season of Europa League, and they were fresh in mind. We arrived in some departments without important players who give consistency to the team, and that was where you get the fragile part. They are a little bit fragile. They were last season in a certain period, but how they fought 10 against 11, a lot of players made a step up. We have to come back, and that was where the soundbite went with there. City's only victories, by the way, in 2026 have come in domestic cup ties against Exeter of League One and Newcastle. Sorry, Alex. Without 11 senior players in Norway, through either injury, illness, suspension, or ineligibility, like Antoine Semenyo. And after the match, Pep says it was an incredible opportunity for us, and the feeling that everything that can be going wrong is going in many, many details. That's a fact. You have to try to change it, but the players are there, and we'll try. And then someone asked him about the team being flat. Manchester City flat. Pep says, I do not agree. We didn't have Jeremy or Savinho or proper wingers in other departments, and we had many other important players that aren't here. Give us more consistency that we have, but I didn't have the feeling that today the team was not there. They, meaning Bodo Glimt, are well organized. They force you to go outside. We don't have the players to go one-on-one, one against one, and make moments behind. In general, Bodo are really good. We congratulate them. We cannot say anything else. And literally, you had the two Kasper Hoeg goals, bang, bang, and then you had the big strike by Jens Petter Hauge that made it 3-0. And Rodri continues to struggle after last year. I think if you look at Rodri, still kind of figuring out the sea legs and such, and so you end up with the result that was there, a 3-1 win for Bodo Glimt. And that was the number one stunner on the board. By the way, Bodo Glimt was a plus 535 on the board. Copenhagen and Napoli, a 1-1 draw to plus 238. Arsenal, no problem with Inter at a plus 161. I lost that one to start off picks of the week. Olympiacos 2-0 over Bayer Leverkusen as a favorite at a plus 121. Real Madrid put 6 on Monaco. Probably could have been a lot more at a minus 333. Sporting over PSG is probably another one of the results of the day at a plus 330. Sporting with the win 2-1 over PSG, and that's a big result for them. And so with the stats in that workout for PSG, you end up with 2 Luis Suarez goals, not that Luis Suarez. Kvaratskhelia goal in between them. So Luis Suarez scores in the 74th. 5 minutes later, Kvaratskhelia scores to make it 1-1, and then Luis Suarez scores in the 90th. Now each team is at 13 points. Just to give you an idea who started in the 4-3-3 for PSG, fairly standard, except for you had Chevalier in net. It was Nuno Mendes at the back, along with Pacho, Marquinhos, and Warren Zaire-Emery. Then you had Fabian Ruiz. You had Vitinha. And then you had Seni Mayulu getting the start for Luis Enrique. And then up top, it was Barcola, Dembele, and Desiree Doué. And so it was, it was fairly standard lineup. A couple of changes for Luis Enrique in the early part of the week. But you end up with a 2-1 result for Sporting. And for them, that's huge because you wonder if that will help them and it'll carry over into domestic play. And we can ask our buddy Nino Torres about this tomorrow. PSG had only 75% possession. So it was 3-1 in possession for PSG. 6 shots on goal to 4, 28 shot attempts for PSG compared to 10 for Sporting. 21 fouls called, 11 on PSG. 2 yellows for Sporting, 1 for PSG. No reds. 10 corners to 2, 5 saves for Sporting compared to 2 and Chevalier on the afternoon. So Sporting gets the big win. They get the win 2-1. Once again, now they're even with PSG at 13 points going forward. Then Spurs and Dortmund. Spurs get the win 2-0 over Dortmund, and they were a slight underdog at home at a plus 169. Dortmund was the favorite at a plus 152. But with all the talk that we have had domestically, and it was, Thomas Frank this, Thomas Frank that. Thomas Frank's out the door. He's not staying. I got to turn the super tanker around. You got to have patience. People don't have patience with Thomas Frank. We got into this whole thing about patience on Soccer Over There on Monday night. And right now, Thomas Frank gets a win that a lot of folks are sitting there saying, "Oh, this might be the one that turns it around." So, with that being said, getting this big marker against Dortmund. So Thomas Frank about the super tanker. He was asked about it after the match, once again, courtesy of our friends at Sky. Here's what he said after the match that he got, and it was a big result for him. Big result for Spurs, don't get me wrong, but a big result for him as things currently stand.
The big thing is to build, of course, we need to build on this with a performance and a win against Burnley on Saturday. What I would say is that it's a big skill to be able to produce Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, Champions League every week from the team and players, and that we're working very hard on. And I actually think, I keep saying it because I mean it, this is the 8th game in a row where I think we consistently perform quite well. What I feel the whole time is that I feel the staff is with us. I think the players are with us, the ownership, everyone want the same thing, and we're on the same page. And we do a lot of things in the right direction. And I just see a team that is running very, very hard. And I think that's a very, very good sign. That's a healthy sign of a culture. And we are building something a little bit step by step.
A little bit step by step for Thomas Frank. They got the Duke yesterday, and they get full points with their run. One other game on the board yesterday at 3 o'clock, and it was Ajax, the largest underdog of the day. Ajax, for those of you that do not know, Ajax's season has been hell. And everybody's sitting there going, Ajax, hey, you, Ajax, what's going on with you? And a lot of folks are sitting there going, but, by comparison, what is up with y'all? and you have Ajax right now. They are third in the Eredivisie. PSV Eindhoven, by the way, this is how much of a gap there is in the Eredivisie by comparison. Feyenoord is at 36 points. Ajax is at 34. NEC Nijmegen is at 32. Groningen's at 31. FC Twente and Sparta Rotterdam are at 29. AZ Alkmaar is at 28. So that's kind of like the chase group. 36 to 28, you're looking at 2, 4, 6, 7, 2 through 8 separated by 8 points. So 7 teams separated by 8 points between 2 and 8. PSV Eindhoven, to give you an idea, they are at 17-1-1. PSV Eindhoven has decided that they're just going to sit there, put the pedal down, and y'all try to catch us. They've only lost once in 19 matches in the Eredivisie. 17-1-1 out of the blocks. Goal difference of plus 36. 52 total points. They are 16 points ahead of Feyenoord, 18 points ahead of Ajax. And you know that the fans at Ajax, if they don't set off fireworks and flares in the stands, you know they would tell you that they're not happy with how things have been in the Eredivisie this year. But you were a slight underdog yesterday, and you end up getting the result that you get. So it's a big win for Ajax on the road, and they end up, once again, getting full points as a part of all of this. And so you end up with those 9 matches yesterday. You got the 9 matches today. Standings going into today. And once again, you have either 2 or 1 match left in the league phase, in the league table. So Arsenal, and I'll let you know if it's 1 match that is in hand, and we'll get into juice boxes here in a sec. So Arsenal's run the table so far. 7 matches, 7 wins. They've only given up 2 goals. What the heck is the matter with you? You gave up a goal yesterday. 21 points across the board. 6 points clear of Real Madrid. Bayern Munich match in hand. They're at 15 points. So I would anticipate today that Bayern Munich would end up in second with a match to go in league phase. Spurs right now are 4th in league phase, 14 points. They've won 3 of 4. PSG, with the loss yesterday, they've hit each column once in their last 3. They're at 13 points. Sporting, with the win, is now at 13 points. They're behind PSG in goal difference, but right now they're in 6th with a match to go. Manchester City, they're at 13 points. They've lost 2 of 3. They're in 7th right now. Atalanta they've gone unbeaten in 5. They've won 3 in a row. They're at 13 points, but they're behind everybody else in goal difference, but they also have a match in hand. We'll get into their juice boxes in a sec. So those would be your automatic qualifiers. They get to rest. Inter is at 12 points. They've lost 3 in a row. Atletico de Madrid is at 12 points. They're behind on goal difference, but they've scored more goals than Liverpool. Atletico de Madrid and Liverpool play today. Dortmund, 7 matches in. They've hit each column once in the last 3. They're at 11. Newcastle 13th at 10, ahead of Chelsea on goal difference and ahead of Barcelona on goal difference. Once again, Newcastle, Chelsea, Barca, they play today. Marseille, and we know that Dell is locked in on this one. Marseille play today. They're at 9 points. They've won 2 in a row. They're in 16th. They win today. They're at 12. They get into the mix to try to win again next week to figure out if they can climb out of the having to play consecutive weeks and not have a bye. Juve is in 17th. They've won 2 in a row to get to this point. Remember their start. They'd only won once in their first 4 matches. So Juve, they play today, 9 points. Galatasaray play today, 9 points, behind on goal difference, but Bayer Leverkusen is behind them. Monaco is behind them. Those are the folks at 9 points. There's a lot of them. There's 5. Marseille, Juve, Galatasaray, they play today. Leverkusen, Monaco, they're in the barn, 7 matches, 9 points, but they're the worst in goal difference. PSV at 8 points. They've hit each column once in their last 3 in competition. They're ahead of Olympiacos on goal difference. Olympiacos is ahead of Napoli on goals scored, and FC Copenhagen behind them all on goal difference. So 4 teams at 8 points, 5 teams at 9 points. PSV play today. Everybody else has 7 matches. Currently, the folks that would not be in the next round, the knockouts. Karabag at 7 points, ahead of Club Brugge on goal difference. Karabag play today. Bodo Glimt is at 6 points, still mathematically alive. They've now rocketed up to 27th. Benfica is at 6 points. Less goals scored than Bodo Glimt. They're in 28th. Paphos is at 6. Royal Union is at 6. And Ajax is at 6. They've won their last 2. Remember, they started out 0 for 5 in the competition. They've won their last 2. They're at 6 points. They have 1 match left, though, and it's going to take a win and some help. Bilbao is at 5 points. They play today. Eintracht Frankfurt at 4 points. They've lost 2 in a row, 4 of 5. Slavia Prague play today, 3 points. Villarreal and Kairat Almaty both eliminated. Villarreal lost their first 5. They've lost 5 in a row, and Kairat Almaty have lost their last 4. So that's where you are in the standings. So today, here's what you're staring at. Galatasaray, Atletico de Madrid. Atletico de Madrid is favored at a plus 112. Galatasaray needs the win or something to kind of push them up to have a chance next week. Karabag and Eintracht Frankfurt. Karabag is at home. Eintracht Frankfurt favored at a plus 121. Karabag is at a plus 200. Atalanta, your 3 o'clock starts. Favored at home against Athletic Bilbao at a minus 137. Bayern Munich favored at a minus 833, taking on Royal Union. By the way, Royal Union is a plus 1,700. If you really got nothing to do and you got some juice boxes that are stinking up the back of the fridge, no, don't even do that. Chelsea and Paphos. Chelsea at a minus 769. Paphos is worse at a plus 1710 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Juve at a minus 141, hosting Benfica at a plus 393. Marseille and Liverpool. Liverpool favored at Marseille. Sorry, Del. At a minus 105. Marseille at a plus 257, draws a plus 277. Newcastle hosting PSV at a minus 278. PSV is a plus 620. And then Slavia Prague, big underdog at home at a plus 665. What do you want to bet that juice boxers, they don't want to sit there and have anything at a plus 666 in the composite. So they'll try and figure out a number that'll just make it like 667 or 665. They don't want a plus 666 in the numbers. Slavia Prague, big underdog at home. Barca's a minus 303. Then you've got league phase that kicks in next week, and everybody kicks off at 3 o'clock. And it's chaos. But that is in 7 days' time. So that is your league phase today. And then obviously tomorrow it's Europa League and Conference League, where we talk about 36 matches going on simultaneously. But that's your rundown today of everything Champions League, everything that happened yesterday in Champions League. And so that's what you're staring at with all of that. In an elongated opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game and the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. So that lends us into today in what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. And that comes from our friends at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps them, helps us, and helps you by adding more matches to everything you're already watching. Fanatis, you get all the BNs. And I've seen Tigo Sports. I've seen CATV. I've seen a lot of other leagues out of Central America. Liga 1 Max out of Peru. That's on there now. You've got the Copa de Argentina on TEC. That was on a couple of nights ago. You have all of those, more leagues across South America, all in one place, one subscription, one home. And that is at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. So since we're talking Champions League, here's who is where. Galatasaray and Atletico de Madrid is at 12:45. Newcastle PSV is at 3. Both of those on CBS Sports Network. FS2 has action in the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote at 12:30. Fox Deportes simulcasting. Fox ONE is simulcasting as well as foxsports.com. So it's a big Fox Sports day for a league that we don't really talk about. Paramount Plus has midweek action in the championship. Southampton, Sheffield United, Watford, Portsmouth at 2:45, Stoke Middlesbrough at 3. And also Paramount Plus has all 9 matches in the Champions League. They have the 2 at 12:45 and the 7 at 3 o'clock. You have Fox Deportes with Liga MX Femenil at 8 o'clock. It is Guadalajara and Querétaro. And then DAZN USA has the Coppa Italia Femenina. It is Ternana and Inter Milano at noon and Lazio and Roma at 2:30. So that is what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. You can watch all of that and more at our friends Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. So that is the rundown of what you can watch today in and around everything. And when on Te Say, it kind of sneaks up on you because we didn't know that Estudiantes was playing Ituzaingo the other day. That kind of snuck up on us. So you kind of have to have everything dialed up on Fanati so you can sit there and see what's live all afternoon. So that's the interesting and the fun part of all of that. All right. Before we get into Major League Soccer, we got to get into that because training camps are up and running. And we've got USL League One, training camps up and running. By the way, if you hear noise in Statesboro today, it is training camp. Mark McKeever and South Georgia Tormenta, they are kicking off today. And we are efforting folks out of Statesboro to talk about year 10 because it's season 10 for us, season 10 for them. And it will be interesting to see where things are. They've had a lot of turnover at South Georgia Tormenta this year. You're going to have new players, new teams in USL League One. We're trying to catch up with as many of them as possible. And for those of you that might have missed it, Javi Armas from Atlanta United 2 is now in Fort Wayne. He is now with the first-year club, DeMarcus Beasley's group, Fort Wayne Soccer Club. They're assembling their roster, and Javi Armas is now a part of what is going on up there at Fort Wayne. So, and we're efforting conversations with each of these new franchises that we can grab onto. We've done it with AC Boise in League One, so we're trying to do it with Sarasota. We're trying to do it with Fort Wayne. All of these new faces, we've done it with Corpus Christi. And so trying to get – this is an 18-team league, by the way. And this is the interesting part about USL League One is that you go from the numbers that you had to where you are this season. And it's crazy to think about that they've now just parachute. I mean, they've just rocketed into an 18-team league this year with everybody coming online. Alta, Boise, Charlotte, Red Wolves. Corpus Christi is new. Boise is new. Fort Wayne FC is new. Forward Madison, Greenville Triumph. We're catching up with the folks in Greenville because they've got a new head coach and they've got a new general manager. So we've got to catch up with them. Your returning Cup champs in One Knox, FC Naples, New York Cosmos, who announced an agreement, a research agreement, affiliate agreement with St. Thomas Aquinas High School up there in New Jersey, not the one in South Florida, but the one up there in their footprint. And so Cosmos are going to be new this year. Portland Hearts of Pine, Richmond, Sarasota Paradise new this year. And they caused some hell. You'll remember an Open Cup going up against FC Naples. So that rivalry is already there. Tormenta, Spokane, Union Omaha, and Westchester. So you're literally looking at an 18-team league after Texoma goes away, and they've rebranded, and they're going to be in USL League 2. So you have one team go away, and you add 5. You add 5, one goes away, and you're in an 18-team league. And so you're starting to get those hubs that we've been talking about with Darren Van Tassel over time. You want to get the regional rivalries. You want to get the hubs going on, and you're starting to get that now in the West. The Spokane, Boise, with AV Alta in Lancaster, California, Charlotte, Chattanooga, Greenville, and you've got Naples and Sarasota. One Knox is now a part of that southeastern rivalry. Richmond kind of southeast adjacent. And so you're starting to get those pieces that are, going together. You're starting to get it Pacific Northwest in the West. You're getting it in the Southeast. It's growing in the Southeast. But 18 teams in USL League One, which is kind of, it's really interesting to hear the expansion and really the explosion that's going on in USL League One over the last little bit. Let me say hi to everybody. Morning Pars, Alex. Okay, so here's the update with Alex, by the way, and surgery. Last Friday, going to be 4 to 6 weeks before he can put any kind of weight on his knee. Well, I hope this means you can get out of class early and you can choose who gets to carry your books. And crutches and the whole thing. That sucks. Absolutely sucks. So we just, obviously, we send our collective love to Alex as he's rehabbing with this thing. Morning, Dell. Morning, Abby. And Will, Sadie missed SOT. Going to ask Jason how I felt about the chase coming back in NASCAR since it's basically like the split in Netherlands, Belgium, and Scotland. I would think that Jason would not be a fan of the chase coming back in NASCAR. I'm just saying. Will wants Gattuso managing Spurs. Yes. Sometimes it may be good. Sometimes it may be We need to have him like in Liga MX or something. That'd be great. Morning, Dell. Morning, Will. And Will's about yesterday in the match with PSG. PSG had like 1 billion goals disallowed. And by 1 billion, I mean 3. But yeah, it was one of those days for PSG as well. Dell rooting for his Marseille to beat Liverpool. Yep. And Wanyeri on loan from Arsenal. Talked about it yesterday. Coming out of this interview, coming up here in a sec, we will go over all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll go to MLS clubs and let you know what's going on there. Dell in Charleston. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ricky. Morning, David. Okay. So it is toward the end of hour number 1. And as promised, what we've been doing, and traditionally opening kickoff would be one of those situations where we would be running highlights and posts out of the OFC Pro League, but because they're having reign of biblical proportions, they didn't have any matches in the overnight. But what we were able to do is do math. And you know that's pretty tough for a dude like me. So it was really cool to be able to track down an individual. And when you get to track down folks, you get to kind of see who's doing what and where, and all the legends that are in this league from Oceania that are taking a part in things. Let me take you back to match day 1. Match day 1. Bula FC, Vanuatu United FC. 90th minute north of the board, and you have this happen, courtesy of our friends at Go Media and FIFA Plus.
Desperate for his team to create. Ramazani hauls it in. Cleared away by Supek. Here's Cardona. Oh! That is an equaliser of epic proportions in the dying seconds of the game. And it's finished. Vanuatu United 2 and Bula FC 2.
And that was William Cardona from South Carolina, from Winthrop, from Virginia Tech, and now a part of things at Vanuatu United. It's more like the Paul Harvey bit, you know, that we have the drop that we occasionally run when it comes to situations like this with our buddy Paul. It's always, you know, ending this way.
Now you know the rest of the story.
And now we go, and this was me doing math, and it's an 18-hour time difference from Atlanta to Auckland, New Zealand. We figured it out after practice, after lunch, and it was an opportunity for us to catch up with William Cardona, find out about this new gig, his first pro job in Vanuatu, and legitimately what it was like for him to score that goal, what it means across the board. Really cool conversation that we got to have with William Cardona, formerly of Virginia Tech, now at Vanuatu United. Here's our conversation as the OFC Pro League continues in earnest. 3/4 of a world away. Actually did the math right. It is 18 hours difference from when I'm talking to you to where you are. Let's see. It's raining like nobody's business. You had to do practice indoors. I imagine lunch was fairly indoorsy as well. Am I close, William, as to how today has been for you getting to the middle of the afternoon?
I'm sorry, I lost you there.
Navigating the hub system. It's 3 matches in 10 days after match day 1. What's it like juggling all of these things so you can do these 3 matches?
Yeah, I mean, today, the first day we had to go and train indoors because, I mean, there was just no field that was available, like proper conditions for us to train. So we actually got lucky. We were able to train at like the Olympic Center, which had amazing facilities, on like plenty of gym equipment, had cold tubs, hot tubs. So it was really nice, especially after yesterday to recover there. But no, I mean, it's definitely a bit of a challenge. Like we're here for 10 days and we have 3 matches. So it's definitely a lot, you know, of a load on the body, especially, you know, playing these matches at super high intensity. But no, they provided us with great, you know, fields, and you know, we have a management room here where we can, you know, go and stretch and roll out here as well in the hotel. So I mean, they've honestly provided everything that we need to be successful here so far. So
How did this happen? Because this is your first professional gig. How did you end up in Vanuatu with Vanuatu United and OFC Pro? So you go, it's brought to us by the letter V. You go from Virginia Tech to Vanuatu. How did this happen?
yeah, no, I mean it was crazy. I mean, honestly, I had a family friend. He's a coach in Charlotte, where I'm from, and he was actually originally applying for the job for the head coach job here for Vanuatu. So he also put my name in as well because they knew that they were looking for players, and that's how I was originally brought up into the conversation with Christian. And so yeah, me and him just got on a Zoom call, and he explained to me the whole process of the league and how the team was going to work. And honestly, it was a no-brainer for me. I've been since 4 years old dreaming of becoming a professional football player. So for me, it was just besides the soccer part, I knew for me it would just be an amazing experience to go see the other side of the world. Never been on this side. I have traveled, a little bit to South America and Europe, but to come over here in Oceania and just experience, these beautiful islands over here and the people from here. I mean, it's been amazing. I'm very thankful the opportunity came through. So
I was going to ask, how much of a culture shock was it, present tense, past tense, for you to do this with your first professional gig, 3/4 of the world away from where you were raised?
yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest. When I got mentioned Vanuatu, I had not heard of the island. So, it was like, okay, I needed to look up on the map, where is it that I'm going exactly? But no, I mean, honestly, like, I saw the island online. It looked beautiful. I was like I said, it's not my first time traveling abroad, so I'm a bit of used to adapting, and whatever the culture may be, or the environment may be. I feel like I've been always able to adapt pretty well. And yeah, I mean, when I got to Vanuatu, I was honestly a little bit more impressed than what I had expected. Like, where they have us staying, the apartments, great people there as well who help manage the apartments, and then the fields and the facilities. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. Christian gave me somewhat of a heads up. It might not be what I'm expected to, especially being at Virginia Tech. But I just knew that there was just an opportunity for me to play professional soccer, and that's all I really cared about. So, I mean, it's been great so far. I have no complaints whatsoever.
And you go into this new league. You're all almost like Christopher Columbus or whatever your favorite explorer is growing up when you were in history class. You're all taking these steps together as this new group, one team of 8 in this new league. I mean, do you feel? I mean, I would ask, do you feel kind of like a role model in all of this for someone who may not, sit there and say, well, do I want to take a first step like this for a first gig or for a job or something like that? Do you feel kind of role model-y here?
Yeah, yeah. I really feel like, especially from being so far away, like it's just like I feel like I have somewhat more of an audience, I would say. Because like I said, I feel like maybe people are not aware of, how many islands are over here, and, this whole new league being a brand new, like they're not really aware, of this opportunity. And, I feel like for me, especially like my family, like me being the first professional football player in our family, like first professional athlete as well, like it just like I feel like I've made my dream come true, and I know I've made their dream come true as well, and they're very proud of me. And so I feel like, yeah, like me taking this step, to come far away, like I think I provide an example of players like you know like to come to a new place to be professional, like it's just it's just a blessing for me, honestly. And like I think a lot of players, like it shows like you can make the jump, and might be far, it's a big sacrifice, but if it's truly what you want to do in your heart, then you should go after it, especially like for me being young. Like I feel like this is a prime time for me to just get out of my comfort zone and come explore the new world, and do what I love. So
The pride of Fort Mill, South Carolina, William Cardona, hanging out with us here on the morning show on SDH AM. 3/4 of the way around the world, a part of the OFC Pro League with Vanuatu United. Take me through match day 1 and what it was like knowing that this was going to be this first match for this first team. What was match day 1 like for you?
Yeah, it was honestly a mix of emotions, like, you know, being able to be here in New Zealand, so far away from my family. That was like my first thing, like, being very far away from, I guess I would say my comfort zone. But I just knew, like, since we had been preparing, all these guys on this team, all the support staff that we had around us, like, we have everything here to succeed. And as well, like, I was nervous, like, I mean, nerves are part of it, if for me, like, not only just playing in this environment, but like also knowing that it was going to be my first professional game. I felt like, it was something that, once I got done with it, it was like, okay, like a little bit of weight was off my shoulders. But no, it was definitely an amazing atmosphere, like playing at Eden Park, especially like the biggest stadium I've ever played in. The grass was just perfect, like no no complaints about the surface. I mean, the fans showed out as well, for us and for Fiji. It was great atmosphere. And yeah, just knowing that though I had, all my family and friends watching back at home, and all the people from Vanuatu supporting us. We have such amazing support from all the people back at home. And yeah, it was just super exciting, and super, I don't know, just super proud feeling, to be able to step out there and represent the country of Vanuatu. So yeah, it was just super exciting, and yeah, I was just super blessed to be out there.
All right, walk me through the chance that turns into a golazo, that turns into like the first, I think, moment for the league. Run through what you remember about it, and now that you're almost like
Yeah.
in a third person reference, walk me through that game tying goal for 2-2.
Yeah, I honestly, when extra time came, I didn't even know how much was added. I was like so like just focused on the game. I didn't even know how much that was added. I didn't see the lady put up the extra time. I didn't see the board or anything. I was just, locked into the game. Just wanted to give everything until the final minute. And yeah, I talked to the ref. I was like, "Ref, how much time is left?" He's like, "You got 3 minutes." I was like, "Oh man, all right, 3 minutes left to give everything." And yeah, I just remember like towards the end, we were focusing on just trying to put crosses into the box, and I knew with that being the goal, like there was going to be rebounds, there was going to be people clearances and stuff. So I was just looking for that second ball. And yeah, it came right to me. I was able to bring it down, and I just saw the goal, and I was like, I'm going for it. And I shot it and I hit it as hard as I could. And it just went in, and I didn't expect it. I just, went for it. As soon as it went in, I was like, "Ah!" And I just turned. I went to go celebrate with my team because I knew how much it was gonna mean for all of us, especially that moment to equalize. And yeah, I just looked up to the sky. Thank God for it going in. And I dedicated this game, my first professional game, and that goal especially, like, to my grandpa who first introduced me to soccer. I lost him back in COVID. And I was just an amazing moment. As soon as I was celebrating with the guys, like I was just crying, and I was just happy at the same time. It was so many emotions flying through me. Like, I was honestly about to cramp when I shot that ball, and as soon as I may scored, it just went away. It was gone. So you know how it is, that adrenaline, like everything just hits you at once. And yeah, I just was so happy to equalize and just to be there for my team.
So then you do the post-match interview, and obviously you were still very emotional. We played that back the morning after. Then I imagine your phone is blowing up at that point when you go back into the locker room and you see your phone. I imagine it was blowing up. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I mean, I had a lot of family and friends watching the game back at home. Like, thankfully, it was at a good time. It was 3 p.m. here, so 9 p.m. back at home. So, everyone was able to tune in. And yeah, as soon as I got on my phone, I didn't even want to look at it. I was like, I already know, like, I'm just trying to take it all in. Like, like, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And yeah, when I look at my phone, I just had a bunch of messages on Instagram, and my family, messaging me on WhatsApp, and we have a group chat, big family group chat. Everyone was like, "Wow, like, did you see that?" Like, And yeah, it was just amazing. And the first person I called was my family. My mom and my dad were with my grandma and my aunt. They were watching the game together. And yeah, oh man, it was just amazing to talk to them, and they were just so happy and excited for me. They were crying as well. And yeah, I mean, it was just an amazing moment for me, honestly. A dream come true.
No doubt. And when you left the land of the Chicago Maroon and Burnt Orange to be a part of what's going on there at Vanuatu, what part of your game did you think you still needed to work on to be ready to be this professional that you are right now?
Um, I would say a lot of it's like my mindset, my mentality, like going into this, as a professional, you have to be very focused, very, very in tune with what you're doing every single day, even outside of football, like taking care of your body, eating the right things. Coming from playing in the university to here, it was definitely a different style of play, but I would say, it got me prepared in terms of like it's very physical in college, very intense. And then I feel like as well coming here, like I just knew I had to kind of refocusing on the tactical side, being more aware of how we're gonna stand up to teams, and being against Bull, like we didn't really know how they were gonna come at us, but kind of analyzing the game as soon as the game starts. Okay, what's their game plan? How are we gonna be able to counterattack, or how are we gonna defend? And just being a leader out there as well. Like I was, lucky enough to be captain my last year at Virginia Tech, and it helped me a lot in terms of keeping the boys together, no matter the result during the game, keeping everyone together, making sure that, no one's heads down and everyone's, giving everything into the final minute. So I'm very, very lucky that I was able to, keep my head up as well, and be that example for the guys, like, to show that even in the last minute, we can still come back and, be able to make a difference in the game.
When you have questions still, I'm hoping that you've got international minutes or you've got international talk and text, and WhatsApp doesn't cost you a whole lot of money. When you still have questions today, who do you sit there and go, I've got a question about what I'm doing, how I'm playing? Is there anybody back here in the US that you sit there and you can dial up and they'll pick up the phone to sit there and give you instant feedback? Do you still have those kind of contacts?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like, I talk a lot to my friends back playing at Virginia Tech. Like they're all, I have a lot of good close friends I stay in contact with since leaving. And they were all watching the game, supporting me. And I talked to them. I asked them, what do you think? What do you think happened in the game? Like they gave me kind of their feedback. Um, I talked to a very close like coach of mine growing up. He's very like in tune in terms of not even just like the football side, but even the tactical, and like I guess I would say the things that go in behind the scenes of football. So I mean, he's always reading and analyzing different things, and I talk to him as well, just for him to help me kind of keep my head on straight, focus, about the little things and the details in the game. And then of course just my family. Like I know family may be a bit biased, but it feels good to know that they're always supporting me and just watching me, and that they're happy that I'm following my dreams. So all of that, and then as well, I'm very, very religious. I believe in God, and I just thank him every day, and I always put my faith in him, no matter what happens out there. Like I know that he's giving us this opportunity every day to step out there and play the game in his name. So all of those things, they really help me just to move forward.
Is there one verse or a couple of verses that may ring truer to you when it comes to this journey that you're on and what you are looking to accomplish, not just as a player, but as a young man?
Yeah, I mean, before the game, I had my buddy and my mom tell me like the same verse. It was kind of crazy. Like they told me the same verse from the Bible. It was Psalm 27, and it said, the Lord is my light and my salvation." It said, "Whom shall I fear?" So for me, like knowing that, like I have nothing to fear going into these games. All of us are there to of course prove a point, but the only person that I fear is God, and for me, it just gives me that sense of support, knowing that like I'm out there. He gave me this opportunity, And I'm out there just playing in his game. Like I'm just thankful for the opportunity every single day that I get to step out there. And and yeah, another thing for me is like just never giving up. I never want to give up. I always want to have that mindset of, play to the last minute. I'm very, very keen on that because in the past I have been the person to put his head down, like, not believe in, okay, like, oh, I feel like the game's over. Like, no, I mean, it went to show like I was able to score in the last minute, and it just shows that you got to play into the final whistle. So those are always things I kind of keep in the back of my mind.
Next matchup, South Island United, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What has study hall been like getting ready for that one, considering that this is a cramming of a test with this hub that you're in right now? Literally, it's going to be like cram for a test, put it away, cram for another one, put it away, cram for the third one, put it away. What's it like cramming for this first test against South Island?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, we haven't exactly looked at them fully yet, because we wanted to focus first on Auckland. That was our next game.
Yeah.
And we were all hoping that we could watch them against Bula, but that game obviously got postponed, so that kind of, didn't help us either. And they're gonna come with fresher legs than us, but I think soon, I think tomorrow, we're gonna have our meeting. Today is more of a recovery day, kind of just take care of our bodies, eat well. And tomorrow, we're gonna get right back into film and look at them. We saw a little bit of them when we watched the Auckland game, their first match. So yeah, I think just knowing that, like, it felt amazing that I feel like we had a big improvement from game one to game two. I think that gives us a major confidence boost, just showing that, we created a lot of chances in that game against Auckland, and we can do the same thing against South Island. And yeah, just a big confidence boost from the second game that we saw good things, good positive things, and of course we have to learn from the bad things as well that we did. So yeah.
All right, so let me see if I've got the checklist. So Fort Mill, South Carolina, SC Whitmore,
Mhm.
Winthrop, Vatek, and now brought to us by the letter V at Vanuatu. Did I miss a step?
No, sir.
Well, it was great to see you, especially get that marker to make it 2-2, a historic moment for the OFC Pro League as you continue your first tour as a professional. So, William, it's great to see you, and we're obviously going to be keeping an eye on things with the OFC Pro this whole season, and be keeping an eye on you. And may your WhatsApp group be open and all the messages be fantastic. We'll be keeping an eye on it. Great to see you, my friend. Don't be a stranger. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.
William Cardona. And that was fun. Literally trying to figure out the math to make sure that you get an interview coordinated in Auckland, New Zealand. And so we got that coordinated, and it was great to catch up with him. Right now, match day 2 is a part of the cramming for the tests. They're really, it is like squeegee time on grass, and it is big waves that are being pushed off the surface at North Harbor. So right now they're in match day 2 and looking to get matches completed because once again, it's that 3 matches in a 10-day period. And that's part of this hub feature that you're staring at with OFC Pro League. But as the league goes on, we have some stories that we've kind of earmarked, and we can't thank the league enough. And we can't thank Vanuatu United's media relations squad enough for all of this and trying to coordinate and do all of the logistics for all this stuff. It's like after lunch, after practice, it's at this time. Okay, are you awake? What time is it in the U.S.? But no, it's really cool to be able to coordinate this kind of stuff. And so now we have caught up with Solomon Kings. We've caught up with South Island. We've caught up with Auckland. We've now caught up with Vanuatu. So we're halfway home in our first checks of all of the teams there with the league. And we also want to check in with the league itself just to kind of see how things are going. And so as the league is going in its first ever season, we're going to be checking back in with them and with players and such and the storylines and all that. We know we want to catch up with Ronan Wynn, and we want to catch up with another player that is, I believe it's on the Vanuatu, Jordan Rodwell. Hang on. There's another nation that is trying to get a national team together. And you know how we are with our crew with the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. The island group of Niue, 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 is trying to, along those same lines, gather funding so they can get their national team together. And midfielder Jalen Rodwell with South Island United from Niue is Niue's representative in this league. And so we want to catch up with Ronan. We want to catch up with Jalen Rodwell. We want to catch up with all the teams and all the storylines going forward. But when Jason had pointed out that when he was at Virginia Tech, he was Willie Cardona. But with William Cardona, it is an opportunity for us to catch up with the league and all the stories and all the attachments that are there. Because, once again, it's a first-year league, and it means a lot to the grand scheme of soccer as it grows. Yes, it's 18 hours away when it comes to conversations, but it is still important to the growth of the game. And that was why we kind of latched onto this league to try and tell as many of the stories as we can, to talk about the league as it grows, because Oceania is one of those areas where there's a lot going on. And now that they are organizing pro leagues and such, they're looking to take those next steps when it comes to being a force in international competition. So that was why we've latched onto the OFC Pro League. Opening kickoff, when they have matches, we're going to run highlights. We're going to run posts. We're going to catch stories. Yes, it's 18 hours different. So what? So that's kind of where we are when it comes to the growth of the OFC Pro League. We can't thank the federation enough. We can't the confederation enough. We can't thank the team enough. In this case, Vanuatu United. We can't thank William Cardona enough for hanging out with us for about 20 minutes and letting us know a bit of the background on his story for the game-tying goal in match day 1 and match 1. So very, very cool stuff there. All right, it is hour number 2. And here in hour number 2, we're going to check in with training camps. We're going to check in with NYCFC and Todd Dunovit, their new sporting director. We're going to find out what's going on in BJ Callahan's mind. They played their first match, and it was a 3-1 loss. But Callahan has some perspective as to what to look at. And their super draft pick from round number 3 was the one who scored the goal. So we have thoughts on that from BJ Callahan. So BJ Callahan, Todd Dunovit coming up in this hour here on the morning show. So that is, you're gonna hear Major League Soccer. We got rumors. Dell had one of those rumors about Ethan Wanyeri. We're going to discuss all that stuff, all of the news, and all the stuff that's fit to print here as we go on a Wall Pass Wednesday, and whatever else is on your mind as we go here today. So, reminder: the rest of the week tomorrow, it's the Power Hour from 10 to 11 or 10 to 11:05 ish with our buddies Nino and Nico. Like I said, we'll talk to Nino in between him baking desserts, making us all add 5 pounds staring at all the chocolate that he's using. Find out about what he thinks about Sporting's win over PSG. Does it say more about Sporting? Does it say less, or does it say more about PSG? We'll get into that with him. Anything else on his mind in South America and his World Cup moments, where he gets to be Paul Harvey and let us know the rest of the story when he drops by at 10 o'clock. And then Nico Moreno, Sounder at Heart, Pulso Sports. As far as I know, he is not in Marbella, Spain with the Sounders in training camp. I know he was talking about it last week, but is Nico Moreno at training camp in Marbella? We'll find out. My guess is no, but nevertheless, we'll find out what's going on with all of the other league transactions that are going on and all the stuff. We'll get his thoughts on how the league continues to get to their rosters squared away and all the movement that is going on as inside the league as they're now in training camps. And what we're also going to be doing now that we're all in training camp is that when clubs sit there and they will let you know what's going on inside training camps, we're going to roll those interviews and those sound bites over so you can be kept up as up to date as possible when it comes to everything going on in Major League Soccer here as we get you ready for 2026. So this is another go round of SDH AM. John, hear you there, and thanks for dropping by as you always do. Okay. Morning, Jason Bell. Good to have you with us. And it's always, and don't be a stranger. Morning, Lokeville and morning, Pars. Good to see you guys as well as a part of the Twitch pitch. Okay, let's get into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo and everything that's going on in and around all of the leagues that we're paying attention to on a daily basis. And it is catching up with our friend Ben Jacobs to start things off. And it's a very, very busy day when it comes to a lot of the news. And, obviously our Dell had mentioned Ethan Wanyeri being on loan. That's just a part of what's going on. Now, other news. Manchester City is going to refund fans who made the trip to Bodo Glimt. Bernardo Silva, Ruben Diaz, Rodri, and Erling Haaland have released a statement. Our supporters, quote, "Our supporters mean everything to us. We know the sacrifice that our fans make when they travel across the world to support us home and away, and we will never take it for granted they're the best fans in the world. We also recognize that it was a lot of traveling for the fans who supported us in the freezing cold throughout a difficult evening for us on the pitch, covering the cost of these tickets." So they're covering the cost of the tickets for the fans who traveled to Bodo is the least we can do. It was, I think it was 18 degrees Fahrenheit at kick, if I remember correctly. So it was not a pleasant day. And I think they got to get rid of those green. They got to get rid of those green outfits. That just doesn't look right. Bournemouth has agreed in principle with Vasco da Gama to sign winger Ryan. Total package around £30 million. Agreed to a 5.5-year deal. Going to travel to formalize the move on Friday. And so Eduardo Burgos is the one who is first with that news. Ben Jacobs coming in behind, 5.5-year deal, looking around £30 million for Ryan and Bournemouth. Keep an eye on that. Jean-Philippe Mateta has told Crystal Palace he wants to leave. Happy to be here, FC. Looks like they're going to have to do something else with somebody else. French striker has no plans to sign a new deal as it stands. Mateta wanted to move to Juve, but the Serie A side offered a loan with a conditional obligation that was unacceptable to Palace. Villa are now showing an interest alongside their pursuit of Tammy Abraham. Palace value Mateta at around £40 million. News in the lower divisions, Burnley is loaning Michael Obafemi to Blackpool, so he'll be a part of what's going on with their future. And to Dell, it's Wanyeri's undergoing his Marseille medical today ahead of a straight loan from Arsenal. It's William Troost-Ekong is joining Qatari side Al Ahly after leaving Saudi Pro League outfit Al Kholoud. And let's see if there's anything else. We mentioned Ryan, 19-year-old seen as a long-term replacement for Semenyo. So 19 years old, you're looking at that. So Marc-Andre ter Stegen joining Girona on loan from Barca. And that looks like it's all agreed to. Advanced talks were broken earlier in the month. West Ham was never seriously in the mix. So that was part of the discussion with Ben Jacobs this morning. Now into the look of the newspapers. And remember, once again, there are newspapers that we refer to, dudes that we refer to, and we let you know that when it comes to the 3 and the 4-letter papers, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, it is the shiny newspaper, the thing that's in the sky that gives us heat and light, that newspaper, the 3-letter word that we refer to. And then there is the 2-word 4-letter paper, the mail that comes every day. That newspaper we refer to as the 4-letter paper. And then there's the other 4-letter paper that has to do with the things in the sky that you see at night. We don't really name them by name just because they're so off the rails when it comes to all of their talk. We do identify them for you, but we also give you the disclaimer when it comes to all of these notes and rumors and reports to take the information at your own peril. It is truly caveat emptor. It is buyer beware when it comes to the 3 and the 4-letter papers and what they tell you on a daily basis. So let's roll through what we are seeing so far. We mentioned Mateta, Tammy Abraham, more details on that. It is Villa stepping up their efforts to sign Roma striker Tammy Abraham, currently on loan at Besiktas. The club officials are watching the 28-year-old international play in Istanbul on Monday. Ajax have asked about signing Manuel Ugarte as they're looking for a defensive midfielder. Manchester United is not looking to move the Uruguayan international out the door. That comes from our friends at The Athletic, David Ornstein et al. Borussia Dortmund boss Niko Kovac has emerged as a new name on Manchester United's shortlist to be their next manager. But Thomas Tuchel and Roberto De Zerbi remain their top two targets. Say that 10 times fast. Top 2 targets. De Zerbi was asked about it yesterday, I believe. And he's like, nah, I'm happy here. And, considering the video that came out about how he isn't too kind to players at points. And that was shocking video when we saw it. I mean, great tactician, great coach, but then when you see the interaction with players and how, and I'll just use the word gruff, and that's underselling it. Do you want someone like a Roberto De Zerbi and under that kind of an intense microscope? Don't know. That's the big question. So you have De Zerbi, Tuchel, Kovac, Michael Carrick. If he keeps this up, he probably is going to be winning his way into the gig. Inter Milan exploring a move for Emi Martinez from Villa, but the Argentina international would have to accept a wage cut. You know, that's not going to happen. Bournemouth plan to resist any bids for Marcos Senesi. Chelsea, Juve, Barca among clubs who have shortlisted the center back as a possible target. Leon Bailey's loan spell at Roma has been cut short, with the Jamaican winger returning to Villa. That's from Sky Sports Italy. Fulham going with Wolfsburg and Real Betis in the race to sign Irish forward Troy Parrott from AZ Alkmaar in the summer. That's from The Independent. Coventry City boss Frank Lampard, likely to be a strong contender to replace Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace, with the club also interested in Getafe's Jorge Bordalás and Rayo Vallecano's Inigo Perez. That's from Talk Sport and Alex Crook. I will say this. We got into the Oliver Glasner fed upness, for lack of a better word, and I debated having it around and playing it again. But I went ahead and just was like, all right, we've heard it once. For someone who is as fed up as Oliver Glasner is about the club and about how the front office is, from his view, not investing inward, but seems to be more than happy to bring players in, sell them on, and not bring in reinforcements. Oliver Glasner was like, 12, 13 dudes, and it was, this is not cool. And I admit that I am paraphrasing Oliver Glasner by saying that, no, it is not cool that what he is what he is not happy about when it comes to all of this stuff. But, Oliver Glasner is not a happy man under any stretch of the imagination. Tell you what, I'm going to play it again. So this was after the match, after they lose on the weekend, and might be a little low. So tell you, well, let me do this. So let me filibuster for a second here. So if, with the Oliver Glasner soundbite, it was last week when we were discussing Oliver Glasner, it was one of those where you're going, he's not returning, and it legitimately was it was a bombshell when he when he brought it to the table, and you're going, okay, that's that's shocking on one part, but not shocking on another. He's like, no, I'm not coming back. We talked about it as far back as October, and then I'm not coming back. And so then you get the loss on the weekend. And so this is, once again, Oliver Glasner, courtesy of our friends at Sky. Here was him after the match, and he ain't happy.
Heart gets torn out twice in a season, one day before a game. Yeah, with Eze in summer, with Gay now. It's tough to survive, and that's how it feels right now. Yeah? We feel that we are being abandoned, no support. If Crystal Palace is fine to end the season like this with Oliver Glasner, with another manager, I don't know, I don't care. And they are fine with this, okay, they can do it. For me, it feels we just wait when all the players are back. It will be okay. We got 42 points at the end, it's all good, it's fine. But it's not how we are acting.
Can you stay at the football club when you were this unhappy until the end of the season?
Yes, because the players deserve it. The players and the fans deserve it 100%. So, for me, it's now to fight with these players, to get the results back. Again, it's not that we are far away from getting a point or winning, but it's they deserve Oliver Glasner to be their leader. And this is, but for me, and also to protect them, then I have to say it in public, because just saying it behind closed doors obviously makes no sense. When I arrived and watched the team, and you will agree, the best 4 players before we arrived, with Olise, Eze, and the 2 centre backs, with Andersen and most experienced one and Mark Gay. They have gone now. Yeah? That's tough for every club in the world, for every club. Yeah. So, and then to think, okay, we sold last year and they got it done, played the best season and they won the FA Cup. It's all good, and we continue doing like this. You will get the bill. You will get the bill.
Do you regret the decision to tell the players yesterday that you're going to be leaving in the summer?
Why should I?
I'm just asking. It's an open question.
I'll leave it open. I don't think so, no.
So that's how mad Oliver Glasner was when he's talking about all of these things that are going on with Crystal Palace. They're investing, they're bringing in players, and it is one of those where you are just not happy. If you're Glasner, it almost seems like at times he was sold a bill of goods. He was sold a bill of goods. Hey, you can come in here, and to his point in that soundbite, it was, well, hey, you got to 42 points and you did it, with these guys and everything's fine. So, okay, we know what you can manage, so we'll just give you that resource. We'll just give you those resources. If I am Frank Lampard, if I am Jose Bordelot Getafe, if I'm Inigo Perez at Rayo Vallecano, if I'm anyone that is remotely engaged in this idea at Crystal Palace, I want to know that you're more than just happy to be there, FC. As I've said in the past, to me, Crystal Palace at times just seems like they want to be close. The lunch tables in the lunchroom when we were all in high school, you had the cheerleaders and the clique, the athletic clique. They had the longest table, or they had the most tables, and they were all kind of pushed together, and they're all having their own kind of conversations. Crystal Palace, maybe they're the nerds or the geeks or whatever. They're just kind of happy to be in the lunchroom and hearing the conversations that's going on with the jocks and the cheerleaders. They're just happy that they didn't get their lunch tray dumped in their lap by one of the big defensive tackles or one of the big offensive linemen who got a yuck over it. They're just kind of sitting in the corner with their milk and their apple and their peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and they're just kind of listening. That to me at times is what Crystal Palace kind of comes across as. You see these moments of investment, and you have a coach in Oliver Glasner who looks at that level of investment, sees the players, what they can be. He's like, okay, can you get me this dude, and this dude? You're not breaking the bank over it, but it fits what Glasner wants you to do. You get to be in European football, and now you're paying the piper for European football. And right now, Glasner, he's not coming back. He feels abandoned. You've got 12 or 13 first-team players that are there. You've got some kids that are helping fill out your game day roster because you've got 9 matches in a month. And then you sell Mark Gahey the day before a match in competition. If I'm Oliver Glasner, who went third-person reference twice in that clip, and thanks once again to our friends at Sky, I don't know. It would take a lot for me to go after that gig. If I'm listening to what Oliver Glasner says, where he and the club feel abandoned, and going third-person references, a buck in the jar at least. He feels abandoned by the front office. You sell Eze. You sell Gahey. Mateta now says he wants out because of Abby's going into airplane mode. Just get to ISC in one piece. I don't know if you're getting home when you're scheduled because the weather here is going to be really dicey and nasty, so hopefully you've packed an extra day and can get the hotel room an extra day. Just get there safe and let us know what's going on at the supporters conference. Let us know what's going on. So just be safe in airplane mode. But if I am being courted by Crystal Palace, I want to know what level of investment it's going to be. I really do. Is it just going to be more of the same where, we're going to find these, we're going to find these gems in the rough for you, and it's going to be great. We're going to, it's going to be great, and you're going to get to Europe and all these kinds of things. What happens if those players exceed expectations? Folks are interested, and they want to move them on. What happens to that money? Do I get to reinvest it? Do they get that quality of player? Or is it going to be more of the same where you get to a point and then you get to see what's going on? Oh, he's going a day early for Denver. See what the Denver Summit gear looks like. See how ready it is. For me, it's like, why do I want to take this gig? Because if what Oliver Glasner is saying is true, or even remotely close to being true, where you have a team you have a front office that invests to a point, and then they sell players away, and then they don't reinvest, or they don't reinvest to that level of that player. They don't take that full amount. And I'm still trying to figure out how Gahey was initially looked at 30 to 40, and he's only 20 on the sell price. And Jean-Philippe Mateta, he's on the way out the door now. He didn't want to hang around. Frankly, if I'm hearing what Glasner's saying, I wouldn't want to hang around either if I've got an opportunity. Because right now, Crystal Palace is in 13th place. They are even Steven across the board. Pretty close to anyway. 7, 7, and 8. 23 scored, 25 allowed. It's either been a draw or a loss in the last 5. They've lost 3 of 5. So it's been loss, draw, loss, draw, loss. Crystal Palace, happy to be here, FC. I think they're looking at 14 more points in 18 matches. And then we get our portion of the paycheck, and we're good. As long as we keep our head down, we keep our glasses on, we focus on our lunch, we don't get it dumped in our lap. We don't get wedgies from the offensive lineman or anything walking down the hall. We don't get our notebook knocked out of our hand as we're going to class. We're just going to be quiet, not look at anybody directly. That, to me, is kind of the personification of Crystal Palace right now. Frank Lampard probably would have more freedom at Coventry City than he would at Crystal Palace. It would be an interesting discussion with the Coventry City front office. Hey, if we make it, what are you doing? Are we going to be a yo-yo, or are we going to be chasing after things? They're 8 points clear, by the way, in the championship right now. After everything that Coventry City has been through, owners selling stadia to themselves and holding companies and all these kinds of things, John Nation would be the one to let you know about everything Coventry City, I think. But they've won 17 of 28 this year, 8 points clear of Ipswich. So it is a street fight to get into the Premier League. If I'm Frank Lampard, I would be asking Coventry City, I'd be like, okay, so if we make it, what are you looking to do? When you get into the Premier League, are you going to be investing a little bit? Are you going to be investing most of that money that we get that hits the pay window? What are we looking to do here? Are we going to be a yo-yo club, or would it be in my best interest to continue to what I want to rebuild my career? I mean, at Crystal Palace, though. I mean, he's got this. He has this. Right now, he can write his own. He can write his own checks at Coventry City. After being a caretaker manager at Chelsea, he goes to Coventry City to kind of restart things. Derby and Chelsea and Everton, and goes back. So, Thanksgiving of 24, appointed 5th in the championship, lost in the semis. Top of the league early stages this year. EFL Championship Manager of the Month for October. Second consecutive month. 14 goals in 5 matches. Frank Lampard's got more latitude to do right now what Coventry City's trying to do to get into the Premier League. I don't know why I would leave at the moment. Anyway, if I'm Frank Lampard, considering what we're hearing about what's going on at Crystal Palace, Real Betis right now is in 6th in La Liga. They're out of the first chase group. Barca, Real Madrid, Villarreal, Atleti at 41, and then you have Espanyol, Real Betis, Celta de Vigo. They're in the second chase group. They're 6th. I mean, they're on the outside looking in at European competition. So, okay, I mean, that would be something that you could stare at if you wanted to make that kind of a jump. And then Rayo Vallecano. Let's see where Rayo Vallecano is currently. If I could spell Rayo Vallecano, V-A-L-L. Okay, so Rayo Vallecano. So where is Rayo Vallecano currently in La Liga? They're 13th. So it's an under 500 manager who's 13th in La Liga, the 6th place manager in La Liga, who is 12 points, that is 10 points higher than the other guy. So you have a manager who's 13th, you have a manager who's 6th in the Liga, and then you've got Frank Lampard. Somebody who would want to take that gig. I don't know. I mean, would it be something that would be valued? It's like, what do you see in Inigo Perez? What do you see in Jose Bortola? If I'm Frank Lampard, I'm staying at Coventry, or I'm waiting for somebody else. That's just me. Anyway, bookmarking that. Sunderland have no intention of selling Noah Siddiqui to Manchester United, willing to listen to offers for fringe players, according to the 3-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. Keeper Anthony Patterson and former England U20 midfielder Dan Neil. Everton have inquired about the availability of Sunderland's Wilson Isidore as they look to strengthen their attack. Sheffield Wednesday's 17-year-old defender Yisa Alau is edging closer to a transfer to Chelsea. That's from our friends at the Chelsea Star. Stoke looking for go-ahead Eagle striker Milan Schmidt. Wolves are the latest club to express an interest in Bristol City's Anis Mehmeti. Genoa looking at Sheffield United's Nils Zetterstrom. Preston North End. I got to think about Preston North End here in a second. Remaining keen on signing Portsmouth forward Callum Lang. Crystal Palace has been looking at Charlie Hughes from Hull City as they look for a replacement for Mark Gahey. Once again, you go to Hull City for a replacement instead of matching somebody, price for price or what have you. You bring in that 20 for Gahey, then you maybe go 3 or 4 for Charlie Hughes. Just saying. And I don't know if you saw this, and this is kind of going down the rabbit hole a little bit with the Miljutin Osmajic. And it is now the Preston North End striker suspension tally gets to 20 matches after a headbutt. Miljutin Osmajic is one of the hair-triggerest of hair-trigger temper dudes I've ever seen. And he gets suspended more than, Braun Breaker at WWE Raw by Adam Pearce. Preston North End manager Paul Heckingbottom says the ill discipline of his forward, Miljutin Osmajic, is totally unacceptable after headbutting an opponent in a defeat to Hull City last night. He's been banned for biting a player, and he was banned for racially abusing Hannibal Mabry of Burnley back in February. And now, with this incident, with the headbutting of a player for Hull City, it'll see him ruled out of at least 20 matches in the last 2 seasons with Preston North End. Stoppage time, headbutts Hull's John Lundstrom after he get to get a straight red. Absent until the middle of February. Heckingbottom told the local BBC radio, he says, a lack of discipline is totally unacceptable. If he gets 3 games for that, that's 20 games that he's missed. They're different issues, don't get me wrong. Being sent off for a tackle and helping a team is a lot different. First time he'd been shown a red since arriving at Preston from Cadiz in 23. Post-match investigation last year found that Osmajic had bitten the shoulder of a player late in a draw. Had it not initially been spotted by officials at the time, they were shown teeth marks on Beck's shoulder area in the aftermath, according to The Athletic. Banned for 8 matches. Comes back for less than 3 months. Allegations of racist language directed at Hannibal during a goalless draw with Burnley. FA charge followed the next month before a lengthy investigation. Osmajic banned for another 9. Had always denied the allegations, telling a disciplinary panel he had, quote, said, F you, F you bad man to Hannibal Mabry. The Burnley player, though, maintained that Osmajic had said F you, F your, and he went on from there. A lip reader gave evidence to the FA to say it was not possible for Osmajic to have said bad man, and the commission eventually ruled that on the balance of probabilities that Mr. Osmajic used the words alleged. Abusive, insulting, and included a reference to color or race. 9-match suspension, £21,000 fine handed down, and he still gets the backing of Preston North End. Disappointed by the verdict, and so now Miliutin has always pleaded his innocence of the charge, continues to do so, continue to be fully supportive of the player. That was back in February. That approach now changed last night. Heckingbottom saw Osmajic sent off in only his 4th appearance since returning from the suspension. So 9 suspended, 8 suspended, back for less than 4. Looks like he's suspended again. If Miliutin Osmajic comes across your bow, walk the other way. Do not sign him under any circumstance. Ropes did not. We have not gotten into the Adrian Heath article. A great piece written by Paul Tenorio over at The Athletic. And it was stunning. And I will say that, Adrian Heath, who had been courted to a job overseas in the Middle East and was kidnapped, basically, and held for ransom. It is a great read. It's about a 10-minute read, and I'm sure that the pieces will be out there. But it is a story that Adrian Heath and everyone associated with the Heath family, they've sat on for a year. So Adrian Heath courted for a job, flown overseas, held for ransom, and kidnapped. So, yeah, it is a great read from Tenorio, and it really brings home the depths that folks will go these days when it comes to things. But no, go read it. That is required reading for the day. It's the Tenorio piece at The Athletic about Adrian Heath. It is an eye-opening piece, and it is craziness that you saw stuff like that you're seeing stuff like that go down. But, that's required reading for the day. Go read that. That's craziness. All right, so couple of, let's see, other transfer news. Was there any other transfer news? I don't think there was internationally. Let me check domestically and see if there's anything to keep an eye on. Yesterday, we were kind of getting into the Matty Bogusz transfer. Houston has now transferred players out to help with that. But Matty Bogusz, $6 million, $4 million in add-ons, and a sell-on percentage. That's a heavy price tag to bring him back in. Vasco da Gama is going to sign Brenner from Udinese. Andre Hernan was the first to report that. Brenner spent the last months of 25 on loan with FC Cincinnati, back to Brazil. Fee just under $6 million and just under $2 million in add-ons. So Vasco da Gama is going to sign Brenner from Udinese for just about $8 million. Then you got LA Galaxy signing defender John Nelson, no relation, new long-term deal. 71 apps for the Galaxy, all 5 playoff matches in 24. Galaxy's Defender of the Year in 25. Also, Austin is going to sign Facundo Torres from Palmeiras. Deal is done pending visas, $9.5 million fee. Your new DP winger for Austin. So Austin continues to make moves, adding Facundo Torres to their roster. Now, that comes along with the idea of everyone else that they've added and then gotten rid of because of the disenchantment with Osman Bukhari It was an opportunity for Austin to try and kind of move some chairs. Because Conte, Farkar Loon, Diego Rubio, Stefan Cleveland, Osman Bukhari, who was transferred to Vidjev Luj, out. Irvin Torres, a homegrown sign. John Bell comes from Seattle on a free. Jaden Nelson comes from Vancouver in a trade. Joseph Rosales from Minnesota in a trade. Damian Loss, whose loan expired but brought back in. And now you bring in Facundo Torres. And so Orlando, they had enough of Facundo Torres, goes away. Facundo Torres now is with Austin. Different. It is a different conference, but Facundo Torres now in Austin as a part of their off-season moves. LAG finalizing a deal to sign Mateus Nascimento from Botafogo on loan. Spent 25 on loan with the Galaxy. Wanted to bring him back for 26. He's a U22, 6+4 in about 1,400 minutes. And we mentioned LAFC bringing in Boudry as a U22 for youth international midfielders. So U22 for Fabrizio Romano was the first to report that. So that's kind of where we are with those moves and what you're looking at with Major League Soccer. Along those lines, it's time to be in training camps now, and it's time to catch up with a couple of teams that are already in training camps. They've got roster moves, front office changes, all these kinds of things. First place we're going to stop is NYCFC. And Todd Dunovant is their new general manager, sporting director, and caught up with Todd yesterday. He was the first time that he was in front of microphones. So here are some of his early thoughts now that he is the man in charge, coming from Sacramento in the USL. So Todd Dunovant, veteran of Major League Soccer, now going over to NYC to be the big man in the front office. So here's early thoughts from Todd Dunovant on some of the early questions for NYCFC coming into 26.
There's always going to be a transition, any new role, and I think the last 10 years, both between my time at San Francisco and in the last 8 years with Sacramento, have been a great proving ground, really for so many things. And to be able to step into this role now, it's an incredible time to be joining New York City FC and being part of this club at this moment. Couldn't be more excited about that, and couldn't be more excited about the transition.
NYCFC is in an interesting situation this year. Alonso Martinez out for a long stretch of time. Coming into this position, what do you think is the biggest challenge you have in your job for 2026?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. We had a couple, really tough injuries in the playoffs last year between both Alonso and Pepe. Two very important players to our team, and guys that we're going to have to make sure that we find, replacements. They're going to come back and they're going to be back with us. But at the same time, Alonso scored a lot of goals, like you said. We got to make sure we find that within the team. So that's going to be a big priority for us is finding some attacking, help and making sure that we fill those goals, because he was a pivotal player for us and has been, especially the last 2 years leading the team.
Your predecessor, David Lee, talked about how he tended to look at the summer window as being the primary window for the team, and that was largely because of the marketplace, because that's when more players were available from Europe. And I think all of us who cover NYCFC have reluctantly become accustomed to waiting for the summer window to be the primary mover of major players. Do you have an approach or a philosophy that you could state like that, or are you also just following the marketplace and looking to Europe largely?
Yeah, we need to be open to opportunities, right? And depending on whatever window that is, if there's an opportunity and a need, we have to be ready to move on that. Like we just talked about, there's certainly a need for goals and attacking help, and I think that's something we're keeping a close eye on in the market. And whether that's now, whether it's in the summer, we need to be ready when an opportunity presents itself. And we're given those resources within the club, and we need to be ready to take advantage of that.
Todd Dunovant, the new sporting director at NYCFC. And NYCFC's moves as we get into their training camp, we'll hear from Columbus and their new head coach tomorrow. Outbound, you had a couple of players, Prince Amponsa on defense, Alex Rando, a keeper. Justin Hack was probably one of the two big moves outbound where he goes to LAG on a free. Mitja Elenic on defense. He was loaned out to Raków Częstochowa, so he'll be in the Ekstraklasa, the Polish first division. And those are your 4 outbounds. Inbound, Cameron Acito from Duke is a homegrown. Cooper Flax is a homegrown. Your midfielder from Wake. Tallis Magno's loan expired. Mac Learned gets a first team deal as a keeper from MLS Next Pro. And so that's your moves from NYC. Remember what NYC was able to do last year. They re-signed Maxi Morales, who is 127 years old. And so Maxi Morales is coming back for yet another season. But last year for NYC in the Eastern Conference, once again working their way through and knocking off Philadelphia before losing to Miami 5-1 just after Thanksgiving. But last year they came in as the 5 seed, 17-12-5, 11-6 at home. Of course, when you're at home in those in the 110/68, then that kind of lends itself to it. But 11-6 at home, even Steven away last year, 6-5 away from home. Whether we're talking the Bronx or we're talking Flushing, Queens, and so 56 points to finish, 2 points ahead of Nashville and Columbus. So they were 5th last year, made it into the postseason, and looking to obviously improve on that year to year. 3 points behind Charlotte in that second group in the Eastern Conference last year. Philly, Cincy, Miami, all separated by a point. And then it was Charlotte at 59, New York City at 56, Nashville 54, Columbus at 54, and then Chicago was your 8 at 53, and Orlando dropped to 53 as your 9. That was your 8-9 play-in. Speaking of Nashville, Nashville was on the board with their first preseason action yesterday, and it ended up being a 3-1 loss on the board. But you listen to BJ Callahan just kind of understanding its place and knowing that it is a part of really the growth in the preseason. It's a 4-1 loss to Chicago Fire and Palm Beach Gardens. They are next going to be playing Colorado this Friday, 10:30 in the morning, before returning to Tennessee, going to Vanderbilt Health Training for Monday, January 26th. And so in Antioch, in the suburbs of Nashville, that's where they're going to be. So they have the one more match coming up on Friday morning before going back to Tennessee to continue their training. They caught up with BJ Callahan after the loss against Chicago to get his early thoughts about training camp. And once again, courtesy of our friends at Nashville SC, here's his early thoughts after match 1 in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole exercise today was that every guy in camp got an opportunity to play pretty much equal minutes. And for us, it was just really, kind of an opportunity to get out there and play against another opponent and, sort of be able to test sort of the foundation pieces that we've been doing for what has been a pretty grueling and tough first week.
Yeah, BJ, just kind of looking at some of the partnerships that you were emphasizing, what did you see from I guess the starting group, and maybe what were some areas that stood out that you were encouraged about?
Yeah, so I think the partnerships is just kind of that first line, the back line, and the center midfielders, how well they can be connected. That was something that we're looking at, and then obviously I think there's some wide combinations on both sides, left and right, that we were looking at. And I think you saw across the board the groups that played were able to I would say create some decent goal scoring opportunities. I would say some of the final execution was a little bit off, but that's expected.
And then I wanted to ask about Charles Emile Brunet. I know you guys took him in the Super Draft a couple weeks ago. What did you see from his performance, and I guess what are kind of expectations or hopes for him in this preseason?
I thought he had a pretty bright performance in the minutes that he got. A brave player, a player that wanted to be on the ball. A player that can move the ball left and right, and I think plays at a fast tempo, which is a good thing. Really gets the ball off his foot and gets back on the ball. I think for Charles and for a lot of the guys in the camp, it's just about how well they can acclimate to our environment. the new players, and they're all competing here for opportunity.
I'm competing for opportunities. That's BJ Callahan, as he has one match in the books. 4-1 loss to Chicago down in Florida. They got the one more on Friday morning before they head north to continue their practice and continue what's going on with them. Colorado and Palm Beach. Birmingham Legion is the next one for them on the 31st. After that, then they are going back to Palm Beach Gardens to take on Columbus on the 11th, and then Lexington SC on the 14th. So the ins and the outs for Nashville, and this was a crazy year for them. Once again, Nashville in that mix in the second chase group. Out. Acosta, Brugman, Taylor Washington retired. Teal Bunbury gone. Maximus Eck to Huntsville City, technically. So Julian Gaines, Wyatt Meyer, Tate Schmidt, Joe Willis, Walker Zimmerman to Toronto on a free. They did not renew his contract, so he goes to Toronto. Jacob Schaffelberg to LAFC on a trade. He went under the knife, and he is now under recovery at LAFC. Tyler Boyd goes to LAFC on waivers. Isaiah Jones goes on loan to Chattanooga FC. Now, inbound. Maxwell Waleji, defender, comes in on a transfer. Thomas Williams from Orlando City in a trade. Warren Madrigal to help out things up top from Saprissa in a transfer. Lubens Passius, his loan technically expired from Huntsville City. Christian Espinoza, that's probably the big one. One of the biggest one of the bunch. Christian Espinoza, where someone forgot to file the paperwork to file the option. So they forgot to file the option on filing the option on Christian Espinoza in San Jose. No update on Timo Werner, by the way. Still in the throes of being looked at and tires kicked and percentages and all those kinds of things. Like 70% was what it was looked at the other day of it happening and breaking and actually coming to pass. But Christian Espinoza, forgetting the paperwork to file the paperwork to renew the option, ends up being scooped up by Nashville. Shaq Muhammad, fee for a right of first refusal from Orlando City. Isaiah LaFleur, once again, fee for a right of first refusal from Philadelphia. So Espinoza in, Madrigal in to help up top. Still no word after the initial rumblings in the window in January about Sam Surridge going to Wolves. Initially, those were like rumors and rumblings and things. Nothing since then. So right now, it is Surridge, Espinoza, Mukhtar. And don't know about Warren Madrigal and his integration, but as a part of that, what we know from Saprissa and the Triple C about what it can bring from Nashville. So intriguing stuff there. And BJ Callahan on the books. And Jason, good to see you. And don't be a stranger. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. So Nashville making moves. They're in preseason. Like I said, tomorrow we're going to hear from new coach Riedstrom in Columbus. We'll hear from him in addition to the Power Hour tomorrow with Nino and Nico as a part of anything and everything that's going on in Major League Soccer. So keep an eye on Nashville. Once again, they've just got the one more match before they come back north, and it's going to be those continued conversations as we go. Wall Pass Wednesday, Dell with a question. I've never done this before. Dell's making a vision board. I've never done that. I've never done a vision board before. And, I do like New Year's resolutions and stuff, but I've never done a vision board. I've never done a vision board. And, it's, I don't know. I guess my vision board is, I know I don't know if world domination can be put on a vision board or not, but all of the I know where I want things to grow. I know where I want things to go. I know what I want them to be. And I guess it's just something that is more of a long-term goal or aspiration, but I've never done a vision board per se on it. I mean, usually at the beginning of the year, the boss and I will have a conversation about the future. And it would be, okay, so, what do you want to do this year? What do you want to do this year? Traditionally for me, it's like, well, I want to win it all. I want to win every award. I want to win, all these things. I want to do this. I want to continue to be a part of SDH growing to where it can be and what it can do. That to me is like I want what's going on at Georgia Public for the other version of me. I want to continue to see that grow and evolve. And so I guess it's a bunch of long-term growth plans, and you hope that they continue to go in that upward curve every single year. So I don't know if, having, I guess it's a singular vision in 3 dimensions, but I've never done the vision board kind of a thing like you're doing, Del. I've never done that before. And I don't know, is there a standard size for a vision board where you put in a whole bunch of things in a certain space? Is a vision board pinned into a 24 by 36? Is it supposed to be one size? Is it supposed to be any size you want it to be? Like I said, I've never done it, so I don't know if there is a particular formatting to vision boards. So I don't know what the rundown on those kinds of things are. But I've never done vision boards. I've never done something like that before. So when you are done, and are you supposed to give yourself a certain amount of time with a vision board? It's like, okay, here's my, if you put your vision board down, you have all your tools and you have your ideas. Are you only supposed to sit there and say, okay, I have a vision board and I'm only given a certain amount of time to piece it together, and then you piece it together and then it's shown to everybody. So I don't know vision board protocol. I've never done one before. So I know, Del, that you are looking for world domination as well. And when you are done, DM me and let me see it, because I'm intrigued. I've never done a vision board before. I don't know what they're supposed to look like. I mean, you can go on the Googles and you can see what they look like and such, but I don't know if they're supposed to have one particular tack attached to them. So that was I have more questions about vision boards than I do answers. So yeah, for me, it literally is like, I know where this is going to sound, this may sound cheesy, but when it comes to my visions of my personal life, I want to be a better husband, and I want to be a better husband the year subsequent. I want to be a better husband next year than I was the year previous. That's an easy part for vision board for me. I want to be a better husband this year than I was the year before. And the boss is incredibly complimentary about my husbandry, but I'm still incredibly self-conscious about it. So the personal me is being a better husband. The professional me is continuing to learn when it comes to my craft, and always ask questions, and always look for good stories to tell, and be there for personalities and stories and those kinds of things. Continue to grow as a storyteller, continue to ask questions, continue to do good journalism, continue to help this grow as best I can in whatever small way I contribute here, and be a good example for others when it comes to this industry. So personally, be a better husband. Professionally, help grow here, help the high school product grow over at Georgia Public, and be a good steward of both journalism and of the games that we report on. Does that make any sense? So I think that, to me, is what I'm looking at coming into 26. I know we're 3 weeks into it, and those goals remain constant. It's just that I think that they have different levels and continue to grow each and every year. So that would be what I would be looking for when it comes to my visions on a yearly basis. And I have people around me I have a fantastic support system who will kick me in the ass when I need it. and we'll sit there and they will grab me by the shoulders and they'll throw me down the path and they'll throw me down the sidewalk, and it's like, you're going that way. So that's kind of where I am with that stuff. So I have my visions, but I've never done a vision board. And obviously, when it comes to here with SDH, I can't believe it's our 10th season, frankly. But it's been really cool to see it grow and to have each and every one of you be a part of it and see where things continue to evolve when we're concerned with our product. And this is a busy 5-year stretch. I mean, if you think about it, it's a very, very busy 5-year stretch. National Training Center, all those things, World Cup, Women's World Cup, all of that. It's a bunch of different stuff going on. It's a busy 5-year stretch. Ricky being the intrepid reporter and producer that he always is, MLS publishes the GAM that each team currently has available. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to see what GAM is available to folks. Along with the annual allotment, and they do it at 11 o'clock in the morning, as we thank them for this. 11 o'clock in the morning just before we get out of here. So each club annual allotment of $3.28 million. Clubs can acquire GAM in the following ways: up to $3 million from eligible transfer revenue converted to GAM. You can get it with a trade from MLS clubs, that much we know. Qualifying for the Triple C, failing to qualify for the playoffs, and the 2025 third DP player charge distribution. Clubs also can receive up to an additional $2 million, along with a fourth U22 spot if they select the U22 initiative roster construction path. So there are 2 construction paths, 3 and 3 and 2 and 4. You can either go 3 DPs, 3 U22s, or 2 DPs and 4 U22s. If you go 2 and 4, you get an additional $2 million. Roster construction paths have to be submitted prior to the roster compliance date, and only after that date would the club get the additional GAM. Atlanta in GAM, just over $4.5 million in GAM. So 2026 GAM, $4.5 million in Garber bucks. Messi and friends in Garber bucks, almost $6.5 million. That's a point that you gravitate toward. RSL has almost $7 million in Garber bucks. So everyone, for the most part, is in the 4 and 5 range. Minnesota United is over 7.25. So they've got plenty to play with. I don't know how much of it they would be spending, however. So it looks like Minnesota United is the most in GAM at 7.25. Portland's at just over 3. Orlando City's at 3.5. Revs are at 3 1/3. Nashville's at just under 4. Galaxy at 3 1/3. Colorado at 3.5. FC Cincinnati at 3.4. Austin, with all the money that they have been spending, they are of the 30 MLS teams, they are at number 30 at 2.5. 2.549. So 8 teams at $3 million or less, or $4 million or less. Austin is at number 30 at $2.5 million, 2.549 and 636. Atlanta United, kind of middle of the pack at $4,586,967. So $4.6 million in 2026 GAM for Atlanta United. But you gravitate toward Minnesota United at 7.29. You gravitate toward Messi and friends at 6.484. $6.5 million in GAM for them. Other intriguing, so let's see, who else is north of 6? Columbus is north of 6. Dynamo are north of 6. They're going to need it with all of their inbounds. Messi and friends at 6.5. CF Montreal north of 6. Don't know if they'll ever use it. Real Salt Lake at just under 7. St. Louis City at 6.1. So 6 teams, $6 million or higher. Minnesota's number 1 at over 7, 7.29, 7.259, 7.25. So of the 30 teams, Minnesota is at 7.25. Number 1. Number 30 is Austin at 2.549, 636. Atlanta's pretty much middle of the pack at 4.586. But with all of the moves that we're seeing from Messi and friends, they need that GAM. They need those Garber bucks. So I am intrigued, especially with Herman Berterame being courted. What's it going to look like with him coming in as that DP? I think the DP is what they were staring at for Berterame. So Berterame. So let me see if there's anything late on the Berterame sweepstakes. As of an hour ago, Javier Mascherano at his press opportunity did not provide further details about the arrival of Berterame. Quote, many players have arrived, and surely some more will arrive. He considers that the management is doing a good job. So it has been, we want a competitive team. What I can say is that some players have already arrived, and for sure others will arrive. So it is right now being answering questions. The only way he knows how, Jose Armando asking the questions at the Messi and Friends Mascherano op this morning. And so that's what you're looking at with Berterame. 55 goals with Rayados, 31 with Atlético San Luis. And there is no one at the age of 27 that has as many goals in Liga MX as Herman Berterame. And so you're looking at the future. You're looking at the future with Berterame. And maybe Anthony Martial at Monterrey will pick up the slack. That's what they're looking for anyway, is that Berterame's substitute when it comes to scoring would end up being Martial. So we will see if that is in fact going to be the case. And so, of course, then yesterday you have some folks that are saying, and like I said, then follow your sources, follow your sources, follow your sources. Sources yesterday, doesn't look good for Berterame to go to the MLS. Carlos Rodriguez Hernandez, the Fox Sports in Mexico, and then so he's going, he's not. We don't know. He is. So there you go. So that's kind of where we are. Maybe, perhaps, possibly looking at it, maybe not looking at it. We'll see. That's kind of the latest on Berterame now that we mentioned it. But the GAM figures are out. Atlanta United kind of middle of the pack at 4.586 million. So they got 4.6 million in Garber bucks to play with coming into 26. And so we'll see what happens with all of that. Okay. Big day when it comes to Champions League. Once again, 2 at 12:45 and the other 7 at 3 o'clock. That's where we'll be watching with what's going on today. We'll keep you up to date with what's going on in training camps tomorrow. So tomorrow will be Champions League. It will be training camps with Major League Soccer in hour number 1. We're also efforting another couple of guests on Thursday and Friday with training camps kicking in a bunch of different leagues. And we're hoping to have them on the show as well to kind of break down what's going on in their particular universes. And so tomorrow, the Power Hour, last hour of the show, Nino Torres from Lima, Peru, to discuss everything with us and have his World Cup moments. And then Nico Moreno breaking everything down like we've been discussing with everything in Major League Soccer, all the moves, all the things. Probably get into Houston. Definitely get into Gam and Garber Bucks, possibly Berterame, everything going on in the Pacific Northwest and in the Western Conference, and then working our way east with Nico from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. And we couldn't have done it without y'all as well, and it's great to have all of you with us every single day here in Season 10 of SDH AM. Big thanks once again to the OFC Pro League, to the Oceania Football Confederation, and to our friends at Vanuatu United for letting us hang out with William Cardona and the former Virginia Tech star and the pride of Fort Mill, South Carolina. It's great to catch up with him as well. And we'll keep you posted on everything OFC Pro because there are stories to talk about all season long. Back at it again at 9:05 a.m. in a little less than 22 hours. And once again, thanks for making sure on the 92.9 The Game side of things. Last night was the first night that Jason got to do 2 hours of Atlanta Soccer Tonight. That's because this is a soccer market, and it is a great group of soccer fans in a soccer town that is bar none when it comes to the sport here in 2026. And we have you to thank for all of it. So for everybody here at SDH, for Jason, for Maddie, for Jarrett, for Nick, for Sophia, and me, and everybody else, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do, for another go-round of SDH AM. Mucha platial. Play it safe. And since it is the end of the show, that means we get to do this. Back at it again in 22. Set your notifications. Audio coming out a little later.